recording. All right, so my purpose of this meetup group was to network with people. I just moved down to Florida. Just wanted to get a community going with developers down here, and also teach people to code. I'll have a more formal meeting where members can introduce themselves later on. Right now, just gaining members and trying to promote myself. So for today's course, we're going to be learning how to parse data from a website and save it somewhere. This is pretty useful. I've done jobs for real estate agents where I get listings from Craigslist and then sell it to them, or some of them actually request that data for finding everyone who posted up for rental in a specific area. They pay around $100 to $300, and I pretty much automated it. So every time they ask me to do a pull for it, quick $100, quick $200 for 3 minutes of work, basically. All right, so let's start off with, if you have your IDE open, create a new Python file. There you go. For today's webinar, we're going to be using Indeed as an example. So I'll be showing you how to pull listings from Indeed, which is a pretty cool thing, especially if you want to relist jobs on other websites. You can make money off referrals. So to get an understanding of how to parse data from websites, you'll need a little background in HTML. Python knowledge isn't really too necessary. The HTML part, learning, knowing how to look through data. Another question. Is this session being recorded? Yes, it's being recorded, and I will upload it to YouTube. Also post the link in the meetup group also. So if you ever want to go back to it, you can. Also, PyCharm isn't necessary. There's a bunch of other tools you can use. If you're old school, you can use Notepad and write Python code and run it in your terminal. I'm on a Mac, so I don't know if that's going to be an issue for you guys. Can you maximize and zoom in? Sure. Do you want me to zoom on my compiler or on the web page? Let's see if I give you guys permission to talk. That might make it easier. Both. Let me see if I can zoom. Let me reshare on a bigger monitor. That might help. Let me know if this is better. I would switch screens. Hold on. What's my other screen? Screen 2, share. All right, so most people are familiar with Indeed.com. You can search a job. So we're going to be pulling listing data here. Pull the job title, salary, if there's a salary, location, and then the company name. So in your Python, we're using something called Beautiful Soup. Beautiful Soup is a library that lets you parse HTML data. So if you're using Chrome, you can right-click and hit Inspect. And it lets you read the HTML data in the browser. So for example, if we were going to look for the title, we look for this job card, logo, title. So first thing we'll do is install package. Link here. So
can you just maximize that window?
It's still, if I zoom in, does that help?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, thanks. Yeah.
No problem. So if you haven't installed this before, here's the command to do it. If you're on a Mac, open up your terminal. On Python 3, so that's probably 3. Yeah. It's the same thing in Windows. If you're using PyCharm, it does it for you automatically. So the first thing we'll do is import this library. And it's another library called requests. A request pretty much mimics a web request for using APIs, opening up web pages. And what it returns back is the same thing your browser reads, for the same HTML data or any other requests that go through based on requests. We'll import requests also. We're also going to need to do something to store this data. So easiest thing would be CSV. There's CSV library you can install. I'm using the built-in one, just called CSV. So I'm going to zoom in on this window also. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is basically, if you're going to follow along, search a job. I'm a iOS developer. I build a bunch of languages, so I'm going to look for iOS jobs. So most websites, you can actually see the query of what you're searching in the URL. So I search iOS developers where it's remote. The URL has the parameters for that. We'll copy that and we'll save it as the URL will be pulling from in Python. creating a variable and then assigning this URL to it. We're going to use the request library to get that data. So I like always going to the documentation because they always give pretty good examples of how to use it. So we're going to be making a GET request. Um, Sorry, I just pre-done before trying to see what the setup is. Okay. We'll create HTML data as new variable, and then we're going to do we use a request library, and we are going to do a GET request for the URL we just created, and we should get a response back. So let's print this out so we can see what type of data we get. So we got 200 response, meaning that was good. So HTML has a bunch of codes. 200 is an OK response, 300 redirect, 400 an error, 500 store error. So 400 is usually on our side, browser. 500 is server side, so the web hosting. Let's see what it gives us back as the content. So we get back HTML here, which is the exact same thing as if you were to inspect the code here. And now we need a way to read all this data. So this is where Beautiful Soup comes in handy. So we're going to use Beautiful Soup. We want to read HTML inputs. Trying to find some good learning sites. Yeah, I like to Google all my stuff. Most of my day is just Googling how to use different programs. Okay, so for Beautiful Soup, we just need to pass in the HTML data and the type of parser we want to use. So I'm just gonna call it soup data, just because it's a mess. And we're gonna use Beautiful Soup library. So I have it as Beautiful Soup. And we pass in the HTML data from that. So that's just request data. And we want text. We are going to be using HTML parser. So Beautiful Soup has different parsers. We have XML parsers and a few other tools. So it reads different types of data. Okay. So the next thing, let's print this out and see what we get. Not sure if the soup object prints out something readable, but we'll see. All right, so look like it read our HTML data and reprinted it back out to us, organized pretty well. All right, next step. We want to figure out how to get a block of just one set from all this. So we go back into our inspector, try to figure out what this block is, or else we'll get lost trying to figure out what to look for. So we have job card here. We need the whole card, which looks like it's job search dash SERP. So HTML has classes, and each class is a lot of people create classes for CSS. So this is all about naming parts of the code, so you know what colors to give that section, what sizing. So we want to copy this job search SERP card. So this class is just one block here, and we're going to be searching through all this HTML data and finding those. So I'll call this card. We'll be looking to the soup data object, and we want to find everything within a div container. And we want to find anything with this class in it that has job search dash search job card. And if we print this out, it should only give those values. So it looks like it picked up all the job search classes. It's good. And the next step is figuring out how to extract. Where my window go? Now we want to figure out how to get the job title. So we got the cards now, these blocks of each job description. Easiest way to do it, right click on the job title, inspect. It should be similar with Internet Explorer and the other browsers. You can see what the HTML is.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking for this A tag. Okay, so this is an A tag, and something that's unique here would be the class job title. Oh no, we could actually go one up higher. We could look for anything in the title class within the A tag. That's probably easier. Let's give it a try. So we're going to loop through all the cards. So we're going to do one card in that card. This 4. Okay, there you go. Programming different languages. It's taking a little time to figure out what each syntax is for the languages. So I'm doing a for loop. So this job card has basically an array of data with all these cards in it. I have the job title and the other data. And we want to go through each one by one. So I'm doing something called a for loop. And so we are going to look for the title. Where's my inspector? Okay, so we have this title class. So H2 is the header. And then we want to save the tag that's inside it. And then we're going to want to pull out this text. So first thing we'll do is save that title tag. Title tag. Card. So with Beautiful Soup, when it reads this data, it creates objects from the classes. So since it's in a H2 tag here, we can always get that and then get the next level. So it creates nested data with objects in it. Oh, use one card and we'll print out title. So this is correct. It should print out each of the titles here. Right, so it looked like it did that. Let me just redo this with just the title code printed out. All right, so we'll start from the top. iOS developer, iOS developer. Title, iOS engineer. Okay, so it's like the title's there, but we pull out the title from each one. So the first one should be iOS developer, second one, Flutter developer. Is that right? Oh, it's probably in a different order. So we still need to clean up this data a little more. So we want what's in this title tag here. So remember what I said about Beautiful Soup creating objects from the classes inside HTML. So if we do title tag dot title, reprint this. Oh, okay, that didn't work. One second. It's quick Google. Look at the documentation. Beautiful Soup. HTML. Stack Overflow is a great resource. A lot of people post their issues and usually find a good answer. So title.text might be what I need. Title.string. Nope. Ah, I remember. stored a little differently. At this level, it's stored as a hash map or dictionary. So I need to call it using get. Run this again. There we go. All right, so we got all the titles here pulled up. And we'll need to do the same thing for company name and location. So inspect it. Company name, class company, and I think it's company name. Let's see. So, company name. Equals. I'm not looking for. Company class. Good one. This is still an H2. No, this one's different. We're gonna have to search for this one. And will be one card not find. So looking in the span HTML tag, and we want the company class. So we'll pass in the HTML tag, then company, and we should be able to print out this data. Take a look. One thing I like doing is just printing out just to make sure I get the right thing. Comment this one out. This should give us the HTML blocks for company data. Perfect. Now the next thing is getting the text. Let's see how we can strip the text using Beautiful Soup. So it looks like it's .text.strip. Let's give that a shot. Text.strip. So I get the text data and removing all the HTML code. Method. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, it's a method. I need to add this because it's a function call. There we go. So now we have the titles and we have the company name. So let's organize this a bit better. So we'll make this a string or dictionary. Let's make this a string. When we print it out, it'll be all in one line. Right now, I'm going to make it an empty string. Actually, even better. Print it out using variables. So this prints out the job title. So create a variable called job title. And we'll create a variable called company name. Actually, we can actually do that in one line. move this over to the end of this. Instead of having it doing it on another line, just keep adding it on. So we have job title, company name. One thing about Python 3 I like is how we print out statements and strings. So we can add curly braces in, and curly braces are just placeholders for the variables you're going to replace it with. So we're going to add in 2 strings. Job title, comma, next one would be company name. Format this a little bit, so title, colon, bracket, then company name. And okay. Printing this should print out both title and company name on one line. Perfect. Let's just see if we match. So company is Vispero and job title mobile engineer. This isn't even listed here. No. It could be on a different page. It's not today. Nomi is here. Remy. Interesting. So it's probably a different listing. Actually, we copy the same URL. Okay, I changed it up a little. So it looks like it's depending on the user's session, and it arranges it differently when it's called. But that's fine. It's pretty much what we need anyway. It'll get it done. All right, so we got that job title, company. Next up is the location. The location is in the div container with class location. That's the next one we're going to pull up. Job. See if that works. Job location. Back to the card object. Looking for that div container and class location. When we learn from company name, we're going to strip the text out. Job location. Oh no, we got an error. So it looks like one of the locations where it wasn't listed in the listing. So this could be because of this location. Let's see what the example would be here, but we can always print out the error. So let's print out the card. Actually, one way to catch errors, something called try catch. So you're basically containing this code to prevent it from crashing. So we'll try these functions. There's an error. I want to throw an exception. Print what the error is. I'll print out what the code was for it. And we'll take a look. Oh, let's get rid of this one. It didn't look like it threw an error this time. So we have one here. This one's under span, class location, remote. The one that threw an error was not in a div container. This could be because of formatting or it was listed somewhere else on the page. If it does throw an error, we'll know that we can actually have to use span instead. So I'm just going to add it in the exception here. Job location. Copy this line. And instead of div, this one span. Let's take a look at this. Print. I think on the same line. Okay. I need my print statement. And one where the exception is. There we go. Oops, I didn't add location in. Location, put our curly bracket in. Add in job location variable. Recopy. Run it again. There we go. We have the job title, with the company name, and the location. Now let's save the data. So the first thing we need to do is save this into something that's readable for our CSV class. So we can actually save this into an array. Do an array of, I guess, dictionaries, probably the best thing. In seconds. Or an array of objects. People. All right, so looks like we can read more dictionaries. Actually, what would be the easiest to do? We could always write to the document, or we can save it and write all of them at once. But let's not do another loop. Okay, so I got an idea. I create another function up here called write to CSV, and we're gonna pass it. We're gonna pass to this the job location, well, job title, the name, and location. Okay. So writing to CSV, we're gonna need to open a file. Quick Google search. On write to CSV. I've been a programmer for almost 5 years, and most of my job is Googling how to do stuff. No one really expects you to memorize all this, because there's always new ways of doing things. Then CSV UI. Okay, so we want to write into CSV. So we're going to with and we'll pass in the first. So we'll pass in file name, job list.csv. I'll call that. And we'll want to write to it. So with the CSV library, you can read, you can write a bunch of things. Yeah, reader and writer. So we want to write our object into the file. And a new line next time. Line will be blank. And we need, there we go. So we're going to open CSV file name. We need encoding. So UTF-8 is basically the type of encoding text. It's when converting data, so like zeros and ones, into readable text. So data gets stored in something like this, and we want to convert that into readable text. So there's a bunch of codes where we can convert this hex into what the text is. Same way your keyboard works. Each button on your keyboard represents different mapping, and there's ways we can create macros, which I'll show later on, to, I guess, mimic typing. All right, going back to CSV. So do that, and we're missing the encoding. Right now, everything's coming in and as data. We want to pass it in as want to write it into it as a string. Let's zoom out a little. Fine tuning too long. So we've got that, and then with the CSV library, we need to create something called a writer, and we're going to pass in our CSV file. Is that one in there? Yeah. Okay. And then now we'll write in. So if you ever use Excel or open up CSV files, most of the time the tables have a header row. So we're going to write in that row first. So writer dot take row. Correct. Right row. Yeah. So we're only writing one row. It takes an array of strings. So each object in the array would be a column. So the first column will be passing in would be title. Next one would be the last one. Location. Then after that, we're going to write the next rows. Write the first row, but if we do this, it's not gonna. Okay, got it. So I did a little mistake here. So if I would have done it this way, it would have wrote the job title and the column name each time. So we're going to want to pass the list here, which I'll call all jobs. I'm just going to create an empty array called all jobs. And we're going to write list. So we'll open up the CSV file, we'll write in the column names, and then we'll input the data. So for this to work, we need to take this data and then add it into this empty array and then call the write function. So the best way to do that would be, let's see, getting, we want to return, where you go, job title, name, and company and location. Into that. Record. Oh, I might be able to return all of it at once. Actually, you know what? we can create dictionary. Doing dictionaries in Python. We'll hit just empty curly braces since dictionary has nothing in this one. And for dictionary, I'm going to add the key title and add job title, the value to it. We want to do that in both sections here. Next one, company. And next one, location. Location. And we'll do the same thing for when it throws an error for cases where the job the job title isn't in the div, the job location isn't in the div class, but in span. And then we want to take that dictionary object and add it to that array up here called all jobs. Okay, so I'm going to print out what all jobs looks like. And it should be an organized dictionary with the values. We'll run that. Not print out. Those other lines. Interesting. So I only printed out one. Is that correct? Okay, dictionary class. Looking through all the jobs. Oh, there we go. Being an array here, so I need to append it. I'll be just reassigning the value. There we go. Now we have an array of every job with title, company, location. All right, now we need to figure out how to write all this into a CSV. And Google time again. So we have an array of dictionaries. We want to write it to CSV. So here's similar array we created, and we need the keys. So the keys are what we added to dictionary: title, company, location. So keys, dictionary. Taking, I'm going to use dictionary writer. It'll automatically write the header rows, and then I'll write the rows to the CSV. People don't like copying and pasting code from Stack Overflow, but it's very common. There are cases you've seen some apps in the App Store, and then you go to, I think it was like the support page, go into Stack Overflow instead of like the company. It was one of the banks that did it a while ago. I wonder what happened to that developer. Okay, so we get the keys. We don't need this right here. Creating a new one here. So we're passing the file, keys, creating a CSV file with that, and write in the header row. And then now we want to pass in the dictionary we created. If we run this, it might throw an error because the file doesn't exist. Oh, it ran. Oh, I didn't call the function. So at the end here, once we finish this loop, we need to call this write to CSV function. I'm going to pass in that array. So write to CSV, all jobs. And oh, we created a CSV. So if we go to the location, so it writes a CSV to the same place your script is at. Open it up on the Mac here. There we go. We got all the job listings, title, company, location, and we wrote this as CSV. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, there's a bunch of questions I didn't see. So aren't F strings more? I'm not sure what F strings is. I'm not really much into Python. Our main development language is Swift. We can take a look at F strings. Oh, so you're basically writing in the variable in. It's the same thing. It doesn't really matter. There's multiple ways of doing this. Remote is interpreted as a non-missing value in location. So I think we covered that, the exception. Then we all spend time on Stack Overflow, yeah. So if you are getting into development and want to learn, Stack Overflow is probably the best resource ever, just because there's a lot of new developers on there. They ask their questions and people answer it. A good what thing you can do is try to help people and answer their questions, because a lot of times you probably run into the same thing. Can you scrape data from any web page? Can you briefly touch on restrictions? Most web pages out there, you can scrape data. There's multiple ways of doing this. So anything that renders the HTML server side and sends it to you, you can scrape the data. For example, there's some sites that don't let you scrape data because the way they populate the data on websites is after the browser loads. So if you're doing it through something like Beautiful Soup, you won't be able to scrape the data because it doesn't run JavaScript in there. You'll need to use either a headless browser. So let's Python. So a lot of people use Selenium and some other frameworks to test web pages. So this pretty much allows you to open up a browser without opening up a browser, basically opening up in code, and you'll be able to pull data from websites that add data afterwards. But there's many tricks around it. So actually haven't taken a look at this one. You can also look at the network requests. So a lot of times you can see how it's getting that data. It's network tab. We want to filter this to the requests. And let's see which one gives us the same data we're looking for. Additional queries. Does this give us the same? So websites use APIs to send data to their web pages. A lot of the times you can see the API request and actually pull in what you're looking for. So I don't think I see the web data on here. What's a good example? I don't know if you guys are betting people, but FanDuel and DraftKings, they use an API. So the best way to get their data is not through web parsing. You can actually use their API to pull odds. This is something I discovered a while ago, and I actually created a script where you can go that visits both DraftKings and DraftKings and FanDuel and find differences in odds. And if it finds a positive value, then you can bet on both sides. On one side, basically you bet on one team on one website, another team on the other website, and make money from the price differences. So network requests. They use JSON data. There we go. So you can always read JSON data here. Formatter. Most websites, modern websites, you can see a request coming as JSON data, and you can do the same process in a Python script much easier than going through the HTML. And this gives you formatted data that's already in a JSON object, and you can convert that into a dictionary and print it directly into a CSV. Legal issues with web scraping. I don't really know, but I know some sites don't allow you to scrape their data. If they do see you constantly pulling their website, they will block your IP address. I have that done to me a couple of times. So Zillow will do that. So if you create like a bot that constantly scrapes their website every 10 seconds, you can actually get banned from using their website by them blocking your IP address. So always look at the website's terms of service. That'll keep you from getting into any legal trouble, and checking if the data is copyrighted or not. This doesn't stop Google or any web scraper web crawlers from doing it. Any other questions? Was the session recorded? Yes. So I am going to post it onto YouTube right after this. Just so if you want to go back and try the same thing, you can. I'll be happy to take any feedback on the YouTube comments or on the Meetup channel. If you want to learn something, and I could always look it up and then do another video on it for you guys. We could have more sessions. This is my first time doing like meetings like this. I'm used to like being in person, basically having more questions one-on-one with people. I think this meeting should give you a feedback URL. If not, go ahead, add it into the Meetup channel. Let me know what else you want to see. If you want to see other programming languages besides Python. Next week, I'm doing a course on HTML. So since Valentine's Day is coming up, I'll be showing you guys how to make a simple Valentine's Day card in HTML. I'll go through the whole process, buying a domain name from a website, adding hosting to it, and then uploading the HTML code, and you'll be able to open it up and share it with someone. So I think it was pretty cool. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys next week. Thanks. I know that's difficult. I've done some virtual meetups. Yeah, it'll get better later on. I'll probably try out Zoom next, just because it allows you guys to speak better. It's a code on GitHub. I'll post it on GitHub. I'll also post up a couple different things, but yeah, I'll add the link into the meetup group for the GitHub. But yeah, feedback's definitely appreciated. Just let me know what you guys want to learn. I do mobile development, web development. I do automation. If you guys want to learn how to automate something, definitely help you. I work for a construction company, so I help them automate their paperwork. They already have their customer data. It's just filling out invoices is a pain in the ass sometimes, and making proposal requests and estimates. All that's automated from where I work. All right, guys. Thank you for joining the meeting. Hope to see you guys come back. And yep, thanks, guys. Thank you for your time. You're welcome. Yep, just let me know what you want to learn. I'll upload it onto YouTube. I'll do more webinar meetings. I'll probably use Zoom next, so you guys can ask questions quicker instead of having to use this Q&A board.